All right, apparently we're back. I have no idea what just happened, but Facebook decided to totally shut down and cut off the video. So please forgive me. I hope you guys are still there or willing to come back. Okay. Adam, thanks for coming back in. What? Facebook decided to shut me down for no reason, but we're back and working. So hooray. All right, so let's get back to where we were at and pretend this never happened. This, of course, is AaronCon2020 Day 4 and the last day of the con, and apparently the bugs are out in full force to make it the most difficult day of the con, but I'm prepared. So let's move on, and hopefully we've defeated it. Here we go, Agent Carter. Again, to repeat myself, I thought originally that was Sharon Carter, but so I had to go back and redo it, but that's Peggy Carter. So we've got John Stewart, Green Lantern, obviously in black and white, but there we go. I thought his face turned out really well. If you want to check out that modeling on his face. Okay. We all saw the Moon Knight last night, but there's another shot of the Moon Knight. Yay. Booster Gold was the first one I got done. And then this is the last one I just finished, was Batman. Now the guy wanted the Batarang worked in, so I did. There's an interesting thing about this that I want to go in a little bit closer and show you is I really did this much looser than all the other ones. As you can see how rough some of that line work is. And I did that on purpose because it seemed like that it worked better for Batman. You'll hear artists and fans or writers or whatever talk about, you know, a grittier style. And really what that means is, at least means to me, it's kind of a looser, not as slick looking. And I just felt, for whatever reason, as I was doing this, that would look better on this Batman sketch. So you can see there's a lot of quick, rough line work on this. And it just seems to work well for Batman. Let's move in here and you can see what I'm talking about. You know, even the marker stuff on there isn't really blended as much. It's more me just kind of laying it down there loose and quick. And I'll tell you, I really like how it turned out. So anyway, that's all the sketches I've done or commissions I've done for this live con, but now we've saved the best for last. Really? My wife jumped in and said, "You're pretty good at that stuff." Thank you, dear. Appreciate it. Leroy, very nice. Thank you. Okay, I'm glad everybody made it back in. I don't know why we had the earlier freeze up, but at least I know we're back. I sold several books over the course of this con, so I have kind of a stack of ones that need head sketches in them. But what I wanted to do today was take you from start to finish on one of these commissions. So you're going to see me pencil it, you're going to see me ink it, you're going to see me marker it up. And I saved the last one I have to do, which is Wonder Woman, for this day 4 of the con. So all I have to do is find a pencil and we can actually start going on this. I want you guys to know I also refilled all my inks before I came on, so that hopefully I won't have to do it. But here I am sharpening my pencil. This is awesome. This is awesome TV right here. Watch Aaron sharpen his pencil. Carrie Tarpley, hello. Fred Daly, pushing the details on my sketchbook, thanks. I think I'm gonna turn. This is like drawing on camera, man, I'm telling you. All right, so we're going Wonder Woman. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit more. I'll zoom out as the picture gets bigger, but I want you guys to be able to kind of see what I'm doing here. Okay, that looks good. Okay. Shelley, day 4 of AaronCon. See, you should have spelled it K-A-H-N. It would have been con. Anyway, she hears that enough around the house. She doesn't need to see it on the video feed. I'm going to have her, I think, holding up her forearm, like, you know, getting ready to block a bullet or something, rather than just kind of standing there. I'll have her. Why is she? Okay. Trying to figure out why I've got her so situated to the left, but I think I'm gonna. And you'll see that this kind of stance is not all that unusual for me and my figure work. A lot of times we as artists will, especially on convention sketches and stuff like that, we'll kind of go back to certain poses that we know we can do without a lot of erasing because we've done it so many times. But missed opportunity. Oh yeah. Okay, John Smith's back with us. That's good to know, because I know he was here when this thing froze up on me. All right, so I promised I'd share one of the mistaken Adam Hughes stories, con stories, with you guys yesterday. You'd be amazed how many times I've been mistaken for Adam Hughes, which I guess in a way I find is a compliment because, well, actually I don't, because they're not looking at my artwork when they're mistaking me. I don't know how they're mistaking me. I was going to say that, hey, if they think my artwork, you know, is on par with Adam's, then that's great. They can mistake me for him all they want, but they weren't really looking at my artwork when they mistook me. Although this, I guess the first guy that did was, so that was. Okay, so those of you who remember the good old days of WonderCon when it used to be in Oakland, John Smith's at work, he's bored. You know why? Because people are afraid to come in and buy your Banana Republic gear. I went to Office Depot today, and they didn't have any toilet paper there either. I figured most people wouldn't think to go to Office Depot to get toilet paper. Boy, was I wrong. I didn't go there to get toilet paper, but if they had any, I was going to get it. And they didn't. Anyway, so back to my story. So back when WonderCon was in Oakland, they used to have this upstairs area. There was kind of a lounge area, and it was closed after the show. It was Sunday evening. And there was a bunch of us sitting around up there. Adam, Allison Son, Phil Noto. And Adam was up there doing, he was sticking around to do some convention sketches for some guys that, you know, he didn't get them done during the show. So I thought it was pretty cool of him. He was sitting around after the show to do these commissions for these guys. And Allison had her book there, and that's That's Adam's wife, in case you don't know. And she had her convention, her sketchbook there with her, and asked me to do a poison ivy in it. And I just happened to have all my stuff because I went up there just right after the show. So I had all my stuff with me. And so I was working on this full color with colored pencils, poison ivy piece for her book. And we were up there for quite some time, and I was getting close to being done with it. And so we're sitting up there, and these two couples come in, okay, and they'd been drinking a little bit, and they were walking around us, and I was sitting on this one chair, and then Adam was like in a chair across from me, and this big coffee table in the middle. There was a couch over on the other side of me, and so this guy comes walking up. Luis Hernandez says, "I want to draw just like you when I grow up." Thank you, Luis. Is very kind. So anyway, so there we are. And this guy, you know, okay, it was two guys and two girls. They were like two couples, right? And he's just kind of walking around and checking things out. And he stops and he's looking over my shoulder as I'm, you know, drawing this poison ivy. Oh, her fist is too big. And he starts just like gushing, you know, like how great I am and how wonderful I am and all this kind of stuff. And that's when when people start doing that, that's when I know that they think I'm somebody else. So he's just like, "Oh my gosh, you know, I can't believe that I'm finally getting an opportunity to meet you. You're just like one of my favorite artists." And you know, and he's going on and on and on. I'm like, "Well, wow, you know, thank you. That's very kind." But all the while in the back of my head, I'm like, there's something wrong here, you know. And so then he goes, "I just can't believe I'm sitting here talking to the great Adam Hughes." So, and Adam is sitting right across from me, right? And so he just puts his book up over his face. You know, he was working on the sketch. He just put it over his face. Everybody else started busting up laughing, of course, except me. You know, because I've been sitting here taking in all this praise, and now I just, you know, was completely humiliated. So I said to him, I go, I'm not Adam Hughes. I go, "That's Adam Hughes." And I pointed, you know, right across the table from me. And he's like, "Oh, sorry, man. Oh, well, that's really good what you're doing." And then he goes over and, you know, walks over to where Adam is and kind of looks over his shoulder to see what he's doing. And we're all still cracking up at my expense, of course. And so then the guy, you know, he kind of feels bad about the whole thing. And so he comes back over and he says, you know, trying to make it better, he goes, "I'm really sorry." He goes, "But hey, you can't expect me to know every new guy that breaks into the market." And then everybody starts laughing their head off again. And I go, "Yeah, I've only been working professionally for 10 years. So I know it's kind of hard to keep up." And so then the guy's like totally humiliated again, right? And he finally says, "Well," he goes, "I better just get out of here, man." So, but then he asked, "Before I go, can I get something from you?" And so I took a napkin and drew a man thing on a napkin for it and gave it to him. So that was the first time that I'd been mistaken for Adam Hughes. And it was not the last time. So we always have a good laugh about that. Okay, so as I'm getting this figure work here, I've got to make sure that anytime you do something like this, you just want to make sure that she doesn't look too posed. She's looking kind of posed here, but let's see. You drew a black canary. Stuart Ing says you drew a black canary for Stuart with a drunken watcher on the back. That's right, because I started. Yeah, I can't remember why, but I flipped the page over and changed. Scott, the PayPal address to order a sketchbook is aaron@aaronlopresti.com. Make sure you put in the message in the PayPal message box what it's for, and if you want a sketch in there, what you want, or if you just want the regular edition. Yeah, I don't know. I remember that now. I don't know why. I think I was doing one sketch with the Watcher and then decided to do the Black Canary for him, and I just flipped the paper over. So, hey, that's every once in a while you should flip your sketch paper over, your original art over. You might find something surprising on the backside. Okay, so oh wait a minute, this is classic Wonder Woman, so I'm not going to do the I'm going to do the classic Wonder Woman in the sense of the one that we all know and love and remember, not the new one with the skirt, but the old one. We'll have her have a slight smile on her face because it's Wonder Woman and she's very confident. Fred posted the info right there about my website. Thank you. Or the PayPal ordering. Thank you, Fred. I'm going to give her this Wonder Woman belt, which I think Terry Dodson designed. He was on the series before me, and I took over right after him. And so I was calling him all the time going, what about this and what about that? And he was so helpful that he was go, I don't know. So I thought, dude, how can you draw Wonder Woman for 20 issues and not know any of this stuff? But actually, he probably said, I can't remember. That's probably what he said. That seems probably more accurate. I want everybody to know my wife is diligently working hard on figuring out how to get these videos that post on Facebook downloaded onto our computer so I can actually post them on YouTube. So you can go back for you YouTubers out there that frequent my YouTube channel, so I can post them up there as well. Still working on figuring that out. But I think we were trying to do it like at 1 a.m. last night, so probably wasn't thinking as clearly as we would be. And when I say we, I mean her, because technology is, as you can tell, is not one of my good friends. Make a note of the character you want for the sketch. Thank you, Fred. Fred is working really hard for someone who's not getting paid. Carrie, I don't think I'm going to be at MegaCon because no one invited me. Okay. That's kind of the thing, and I kind of wait to get invited places. There's a couple shows I go to, obviously San Diego, they're beyond inviting you to go to that. I go to WonderCon occasionally. I was going to go this year, but I don't go every year. But I was going to go this year. But John Smith introduced me to, there's a place over there where they have chicken and waffles. And also we go to the little New Orleans Jazz Kitchen on the Disney Walk of whatever it is, the Disney Walk there. And we get beignets and bread pudding. And so that's almost worth going down there for. So, but sadly not this year. And also there's I mentioned this yesterday, there's a great Mongolian barbecue down there too. And that, I'm going to miss that. Oh, I also wanted to give everybody a disclaimer for this. For lunch, I had like this apple pastry thing. And then I ate a bag of chili cheese Fritos. And then I had a chocolate chip cookie after that. And I'm not feeling great right now. So if I have to get up and like go throw up, it's not because of coronavirus. It's because of what I ate for lunch. Just to warn you. I'll try and keep it together though. That was really, really, a series of bad choices right in a row that I can't really explain. Roscoe's, that's the chicken and chicken and waffles in Anaheim. Just a couple block walk from the convention center, actually. All right. I still have a full color Dragonlance commission to do that I was supposed to do before the con, but again, my commitments on Justice League are so intense that and time consuming that I didn't get to it. But I am going to do it first thing this week, and I'm going to post a video of me doing that on YouTube. So keep your eyes open for that, because that'll be mostly colored pencil work, which you're not going to be seeing here. This is all marker stuff. And those of you who ordered sketchbooks this weekend, a bunch of them are going to be going out tomorrow. Like I said, I think I have 6 or 7 more to do. Those may not get done till tomorrow, which means they wouldn't go out till Tuesday. But I turn that stuff around pretty quickly. I need to hire someone to package for me, save some time. I don't know if I'd save any money, but I'd save some time. But I'm so anal retentive about how I package that I probably wouldn't let anybody else do it.
Just in case.
Oh. My wife brought in a barf bag for me, so if the lunch decides to come up, I don't have to actually leave the table. Thank you, Shelley.
Oh my gosh.
I saw that.
That's too funny. All right. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for watching me on TV.
Sure.
You know, sometimes you just got to go, I don't like that arm. And I'll tell you why I don't like that arm. I don't like that arm because it's too high like the other one. I need it down lower. Felt too artificial to me. John says hi, Shelley, even though he misspelled her name. She just took off. This was like a minute tape delay, or a minute delay on this. So but I will send her your goodwill. Gotta be careful not to draw Wonder Woman too skinny either. After all, she is an Amazon. Yeah, the good thing about these live feeds is you guys get to see me screw up and fix mistakes, which normally you just see the finished artwork and go, wow, you did that all in the first try? No. So here's the truth. Truth's come out. Okay. Let me see what we got going here. Something I'm not digging about that nose. See, changing stuff again. Go back in for but I could really go for some chicken and waffles right now. The eyes are extremely important, but so is the nose. A good nose is sort of important to the overall look of the face, and I oftentimes will mess around. Oh, Shelley came back on and said hi, John. True love is having a partner who brings you a barf bag. Yeah. It's more a true comedy team, you know, working together to, okay. I'll do some of his mouth too. I'm not 100% happy with that either. I still don't like it. Thank goodness for erasers, right? Yeah, it's better. It's funny how just little tiny things in a drawing will bug somebody, to one artist to death, another one won't even notice it. Or people that are, you know, looking at the artwork won't, you know, think anything of it. But it drives me nuts. All right. I'll let you. Not much going on down here except the boot. Getting her. I don't like skinny Wonder Womans. I like a bit more thickness to her. I don't know why she looks thin to me right now. Maybe I should go to Frank Cho's website and see how he. Doggone mechanical pencils, man. Especially these thin leads, they just break so easily. Its foot isn't down far enough. Curl that in a little bit. There we go. There we go. Okay. Doing a little bit more work pencil-wise on this figure, just for you guys' benefit. But now I'm going to start inking this sucker. Dig the pen out. Okay. I'm going to move in a little bit. Maybe I am. That's as far as it's going to go. Is that it? Autofocus is on, is it? Okay. There we go. Adjusting some contrast here. Brightness. Okay. All right, let's get after this. I'm buying stock in erasers. Yeah, you know, you should. Aaron, is there a particular comic or character you would like to do a lengthy run on? I wouldn't mind staying on Justice League for a while, despite the incredible amount of work it is. As far as DC goes, I used to hate Superman, but I kind of really like him now, and I wouldn't mind doing a run on Superman. Now here's a story for you. I was, right when I finished my run on Wonder Woman, I was supposed to take over Superman. But like a wise, sagely old artist that I am, I happened to ask the editor, I said, well, who's writing? And he said, Straczynski, and that was red flag for me. And I said, okay, what's the story? And he said, well, it's, he didn't want to tell me. He says, it's Superman walks across America. And I said, I'm sorry, what? And after he told me the concept, I was like, there's no way I'm drawing that book. And so I didn't. Instead, I did Justice League International, which was a blast, and I don't regret. But DC canceled that thing early when they shouldn't have, based on sales. And then it sort of put me in a tailspin because we were doing the New 52, and you sort of had to wait for a book to get canceled before they'd launch a new one. And of course, everybody was already tied up on their prospective books, which I should have been on Justice League International, but they prematurely canceled it. So I ended up doing Amethyst, which was, I think, a good book, but I knew no one would read it, and that proved to be true. Christy Marks was the writer on it. She did a phenomenal job on that book. It's a really good read. And I got to design the entire world, which was a real pain in the butt, but the kind of challenge you sort of, you kind of look forward to sometimes on a job to keep you focused. And but I sort of got behind the eight ball in the New 52 because every time a book got canceled, I had to wait, and then take whatever was open, which was usually was another book that was destined to be canceled. Because the farther you get down the New 52, I mean, they launch all the good books to begin with, and then it's like trying to find something that'll stick after that. And so it was just kind of one title after another that was eventually going to get canceled. So I went from the outhouse to from the penthouse to the outhouse pretty quick until the New 52 got through, and then I ended up doing a lot of special projects because Dan DiDio was doing a lot of stuff that I was interested in working on. I did that Metamorpho miniseries that I wrote and drew, but that was my idea, and I was pushing for that. And of course, no one read it. And so I was kind of, the last 5 years or so, I've just been kind of bouncing around on fairly obscure projects. And so to get on Justice League was pretty nice. Like I said, despite the incredible amount of work it is. But who knows how long it'll last. Cal says, Amethyst was pretty decent. You did great work there. Thank you. I dodged a kryptonite bullet by waving off that Superman run. He didn't even finish it. That's the thing that I thought was just so ridiculous about it. He left before it was even done. He started this horrible story arc and then left before it even finished it. I was like, that makes... Anyway, I shouldn't be ripping on somebody online like that, but that was just ridiculous. It's just not everything everybody does is genius, even the best of us. I've got a few works out there that I would like to have back as well. So yeah, I think Superman would be a cool book to work on. I'm not as jacked about Batman anymore. I find Batman really hard to draw because I feel like I've ever drawn with any other expression than just, anger, that it seems out of character, and that maybe just because I don't know the character as well as I think I should. But that's a good question, though. Is Batman a different character than Bruce Wayne? I mean, does Bruce Wayne become somebody different when he becomes Batman? I kind of get the idea he does, but maybe I'm mistaken on that. But Batman just keeps getting more and more, how should we say, grim, to a point where it's not something I'm particularly interested in working on. Not that I've had the opportunity. I've done a few issues here and there, but nothing long term. got a World War II story where Captain America fights a bunch of zombie Nazis that I kind of would love to do, but don't have much of a relationship with Marvel anymore these days. I haven't worked for them in 8 years maybe or more, so I'd have to reestablish some lines of communication before I can make something like that, even have an opportunity for something like that to happen. But DC's been really good at, keeping me busy, and so, it's kind of, I don't know. When you've always got work, or pretty much always have work, it's kind of hard to get motivated to go looking for work, And I guess we all as artists kind of want someone to actually ask us to do something rather than go, seem like we're begging a company to go, hey, can I do this? Will you guys hire me to do that? And it's like, it'd be much nicer if they called you up and said, hey, Aaron, we'd really like you to do this, or why don't you come back and work for us? What would you like to work on? I mean, yeah, that's what we all dream about, but it doesn't happen very often. It's just a job like anything else, except I do live feeds. As you can see, we're getting there. There we go. That's what I was trying to do. I think this will turn out okay. I'd like to see it handle the Art on Superman team-up book like the old yeah, like World's Finest or something. It would be kind of cool. Charlie, what are you asking me? I watched yesterday's, and I'm still amazed at how you worked out those colors. Oh, thank you. On the Booster Gold piece. Thank you. It is amazing, like I was saying yesterday, how you put those warm and cool grays next to each other and they start to look yellow and blue. In case some of you guys came in late or missed the opening of the show, I will, before I tune out today, I will show you again everything I've done, so you can see all the finished pieces in case you didn't get to see them earlier. Because I have about 8 or 9 of them that are all done and ready to ship out as soon as I package them. Okay. You can tell I'm really concentrating when I stop talking. Okay. I'm going to have to be really careful when I marker this up because this ink is not going to have had sufficient time to dry by the time I get there. Quite frankly, I'm almost done inking her. All right, so that's kind of what it looks like. Yeah, well, there she is. I'm not going to do the black in the hair until the final thing because I don't want to maybe accidentally touch it with one of the other markers and have it bleed a little bit into the flesh tone or something. So I always do the lightest colors first and then work to dark when I'm markering these things up. There's our lower half. There's an artificial pan. How about that? And we'll put the stars on her breeches with, I usually do it with white out, but I've got this, like I said, I've got a white pencil that is really opaque, and I may just do it with that this time. Okay. I am going to, you know what? I'm going to let that ink settle for a minute, and I'm going to do a sketch in a sketchbook while we're waiting for that to settle before I start using the marker on that. You remember this from yesterday? That was Zatanna. That's what a head sketch would necessarily look like in the sketchbook. We did that yesterday. Oh, what else do I got here? I'm sorry, I'm like, every time I stretch, I'm like groaning. Ugh, that's called old age, folks. Let's see what's in here. Oh, that was Kit Carter. That was the first one I did last time. So I just cracked open a new box of you can look at her laying there for a second while I go over here and grab a couple of sketchbooks. You can hear the paper rustling, so you know I'm getting them. All right. And he's back. That's what they look like. So let's pause here a second as I put Wonder Woman aside. We'll take a look at my wonderful hardcover sketchbook. There we go. Excuse me, I just burped. Raw Imagination, 20 years of sketches, 2000 through 2019, Aaron Lopresti. You know, someone ordered one of these and then just shot a video and put it up on YouTube of him actually opening the package. And he was, you know, quite stunned at how well it was packaged. I guarantee it'd be the best packaged book you ever get. But he said 2000 to 2019, that's only 19 years. That's not right. Well, if you actually count the year 2000, it's 20 years. So trust me, the year 2000 through 2020 would have been 21 years. So in case there's any confusion about the math, I just wanted to clear that up because apparently there is some confusion about the math. Hello, Warren. Thank you. Steve Antonio joined. Savi Lim joined. Excellent. Welcome all. Nuno Lopes says, Diana's looking great. Thank you. Mary Cusack, I love Diana. Thank you. Okay. All right, well, I got to figure out what goes in here. Can't exactly draw something in there if I don't know what's going in there. So let me check the old Batman book, courtesy of DC, where I keep a nice list of all the people. Oh, Orion from the New Gods. That should be fun. I can't remember what he looks like, but that's why we have the internet, folks. So, oh, listen to that crack. That's like, you know, it hasn't been opened yet. There's Conan. You remember him. There's the first page of the sketchbook, by the way. I did that. I think I actually probably was back in 2000. So that was like 19 years ago, somewhere in that neighborhood. I actually did an oil painting of this that really turned out horribly. But I was just, the first time I'd really picked up painting was trying to figure out how to paint. So you'll forgive me for my suckiness of it. I won't show you the painting, of course. But the pencil drawing was actually pretty cool. So it ended up in here. Oh, you missed 100. Yeah, I'm up to 102. John Smith of San Diego Con fame emailed me last night and said, I want 100. I went, okay. So 100, we're now into like 102 or 103. Okay, so I'm going to look up Orion real quick as I multitask. So I got to get that head. He's got that funky Kirby headgear. And I know it's probably not as, I don't think it's as bad as some of the other ones. Well, there's a Bruce Timm version, but I don't necessarily want to do the Bruce Timm version because that may not be the, we want to go Kirby. You know what I'm saying? We go full Kirby or don't go at all. Well, there's Simonson. That's kind of like Kirby. That's totally funkadelic, man. Jack Kirby's Orion. It looks like everybody does the mask a little bit different, which is not helping me. What does that look like? All right, I'll turn the page while you're waiting. Look at this. It gives you a variety to look at. these 2 dinosaur pieces in there. I actually did this at San Diego Con the first year I had my own booth, an 11 by 17 at the con on my lap. So I'm still kind of pleased about that. And then these are all, that's Henry Hull from Werewolf of London, which is one of my favorite werewolf movies. I think it's the only werewolf movie I've ever seen where the werewolf actually puts on a hat and coat before he goes out and kills somebody. I mean, I think it's important that you look good before you go out on a murderous rampage. So, well, there's something like Kirby. All right, I don't really know what that is, but Kirby's stuff is funky, man. Even when you're looking at it, you're like, I don't even know what that is. So, all right. We'll give it the old college try anyway. As I'd said before, these are the end papers. I should have left this blank so I could draw on this. It'd been so much easier. But I thought, how nice it would be to have the sketch facing the actual title page. So I know those of you who've been with me for 4 days now on this con are tired of hearing me say that, but there's always somebody new that needs that information. All right, so let's see here. I think a slight low angle, maybe more intense looking Orion be appropriate because he's always intense. Aren't the new gods like always intense? You'd think they wouldn't, if they're gods, they wouldn't have that much stuff to be uptight about, but I think they have a lot of stuff to be uptight about. His dark side's always like making their life miserable, so. Okay. It's like this funky metal mask thing he's wearing. That I'm switching over here to get some more better reference, maybe. The thing is, it's like, seriously, you go on here and you're looking for reference and everybody draws it differently. So you're like, okay, well, which one is like, canon? Which one is actually, how would have Jack done it? Jack probably wouldn't even have done it the same every time either. There's some, I'm going to go with Simonson. Simonson's always cool. You can always count on Walt to give it to you straight. But I'm not looking at comments right now because I'm looking at reference. So if you're commenting, I apologize. I will get back to you in a moment. Let's see here. Like that. He's got those funky ear things. I don't even know what the heck they're doing. But best I can tell, they're kind of like this. You know what they say, it's good enough for government work, right? Well, if no one else knows for sure what it looks like, why the heck should I be obligated to know what it looks like? They're pointy as far as I can tell. Now, he's got this thing going on here. I got to put that in there. It's like some people include this, some people don't, but it looks like it's on the Kirby version. So I'm going to put it on like that. Come on, Jack, help me out. Where'd he go? I don't know, it doesn't even seem like they're even doing this consistently. Goes up like that and like that. Now, that ain't it, folks. Too bad. Let's see. Longtime fan. I don't know Christopher Barber. Know what to say other than hi and congrats on landing Justice League. Thank you, Christopher. I really appreciate your support over the years. Scott says he just paid for mine and also requested 100. Easy come, easy go. Yeah, you're not quick enough, man. How do you get these books, Mary? You order them. You can send me. They're $25 or $45 with a sketch in them. You can just send me the money at PayPal at aaron@aaronlopresti.com. That's AARON at AARONLOPRESTI.com. Free shipping this weekend. Just put in the message box in the PayPal what it's for, and if you wanted to sketch, who you wanted to sketch of. Okay, Nuno looks angry. John Fletcher. Fred Daly just posted once again the information for me. Appreciate it, Fred, staying on top of stuff for me. Okay, so now I've got them basically laid out here, so we're going to ink them. And I'm going to go with my 0.8 if I can find it. I got to lower this camera just a bit. I don't know, I'm scooting up my board instead of panning the camera down, which would make more sense. It's funny how when you work on this stuff that sometimes the sketch is looser and sometimes it's tighter. I guess it's almost like the character sort of dictates how you approach it, which I guess makes sense. It should, right? But I guess because he's sort of wearing a helmet, I'm going to make the lines a little bit cleaner. At least as clean as I can make them. I'm going to have to turn this all the way upside down to make this line. I'm going to do it this way because if I did it against here, I'd bend this for sure. And I don't want to do that. So we lock the palm of our hand on the paper and just kind of make a turn like that. You can get a pretty even line. Okay, got it. Flip it back around. The interesting thing is when I was young, I used to hate Kirby. I didn't really get it because I've always been sort of accurate drawing has always been sort of my focus from even when I was very, very young. And so, you know, something as stylized and sort of outrageous as Kirby's work didn't really make much sense to me. But I eventually understood, you know, what he was doing, and that it was more about the energy and the storytelling than it was necessarily about a single drawing. You know, but I still favor John Buscema just because his drawing is so good. His draftsmanship, I guess, would be the way to put it. And then when you get into comics and stylization, then it just becomes subjective, right? Whose style do you like? Whose do you not like? It's not really about how good somebody draws. It's about, do they draw in a way that is appealing to you or not? Some people have a lot more appeal to their work. They get a lot more people that are, you know, really enjoy the way they draw, you know, and that's when you get superstars like, back in the old days, like, Steranko or Barry Smith or Bernie Wrightson, and because they were unique, but unique in a way that really attracted a lot of people. There's so many good artists today working in comics. It's hard just to single out a couple. I mean, there's any number, of people you could look at and say, well, that's has a unique style that people like. I tend, I guess, to be more traditional. I'm trying to give more of, the first thing I try to do is draw well, regardless. And then you try to add sort of little bits of exaggeration or stylization that sort of makes it uniquely yours. But I am somewhat old school in a lot of ways, but I try not to be old school and that would make me, how should we say, a journeyman. I think I still have new and interesting things to say, but artistically, but I still draw in a way that I think is familiar to comic fans. Because that's kind of stuff I kind of gravitated to when I was a kid, although I was a huge Wrightson fan who certainly wasn't drawing like everybody else was. Is there a series of titles you enjoy drawing, character-wise? Not anymore. There used to be. Boy, growing up, I was a big Captain America fan, and I was a big Spider-Man fan. I haven't really, when Ron Garney's working on Cap, I always take a look at that, but he hasn't drawn him in a while. And Spider-Man I have not read in ages. So I always enjoy drawing the Hulk because he's kind of the perfect combination of a monster and a superhero, and I'm a big monster guy. But I like drawing the traditional monsters like Swamp Thing and Man-Thing a lot. Of course, my own monster character, Garbage Man. Oh man, I'm really flipping this thing around. I got these big pieces of metal I have to draw these straight lines on. So if you ask me right now, hey, what series would you like to work on? I would say either Superman or Captain America right now. That would be the two things, two characters character-wise that I would like to work on right now. But you find out that no matter what you like drawing, when you start working on a character, if it's a good script and you start really, I used to hate Booster Gold, hated him. And I started working on Justice League International, and I became one of my favorite characters. So that always ends up happening. The characters that, as a fan or whatever, you never gravitated towards, once you start working on them, your perspective changes on them. You get to know them, you get to understand the character, and suddenly they're your favorite. The legend Walter Simonson has just joined this. I thank you, Walter, for taking a minute to check this out. I was actually using your reference to draw this Orion because it seemed like everybody's helmet was a little bit different. So I thought you would be closest to Kirby. So but I'll make Walter blush and say he's one of the nicest guys in comics, but a genuinely nice guy and a great artist. And, did one of the classic legendary runs in comics history on Thor. I don't get to see Walter as much as I would like. We see him at cons every once in a while, but all right, so there's a ticked off Orion. So did anybody ever, did he ever take off his belt and say, this is Orion's belt? Did anybody ever, you ever use that joke in a New Gods comic? Probably not, because it's kind of a bad joke, but I don't know why it just popped into my mind. All right, so if you're willing to pay the extra $20, you'll get something like this in this book. There we go. Angry Orion. That was kind of fun. Kind of doing some throwback stuff there. Thanks, Fred. Thank you. Is it pronounced Nuno or Nuno? I bet it's Nuno. Maybe? I don't know. Thank you, though. Okay. Let's see. This is lucky number. That's Queso Comics ordered this. 97. How about that? I'm going to check that off the old list in my Batman book as done. Now we'll get back to Wonder Woman and finish that up. Okay. All right. Orion goes over on the book pile. We'll bring back in Wonder Woman. All right. All right. First thing I got to do is thanks, Cal. Who do you know hang out? Who do you normally hang out with at cons aside from Terry? Nobody. Nobody wants to hang out with me. I'm too old. At San Diego, I hang out with. I have a dinner every year with the old Ultraverse crew. Those of you who remember that. It really depends on who's there. I was just in Chicago, and I hadn't seen Hilary Barta for ages, and so went to dinner with him. I was going to go out twice with him, but I decided to stay in my hotel room and sketch one night. That was a lot of fun, but I had to get it done. So it's funny. I know just about everybody, but I don't necessarily hang with everybody. I sit next to Arthur Adams at San Diego, and known him for years. Always talk to him when I get an opportunity. He's a good guy. But yeah, I don't think that he would say that we hung out. Phil Noto a little bit when I run into him, but I haven't seen him in ages. Joe Jusko. I went to Canadian show. I went to dinner with Joe Jusko and Adam Kubert, and that was a lot of fun. Went to a big steakhouse in Calgary. I guess that's like the meat capital of Canada. So we had a big old steak, and excuse me while I get a drink of water. But like I said, Charlie, I mean, it's like I know everybody, so it's kind of like who you sit next to at a con may determine who you're hanging out with mostly. All right. I think she's dry. Okay, let's give it a shot. See if I can ruin this. I'm going to start off with the flesh tones. I'm going to start with a warm gray 0. It's going to kind of lay the foundation and base. I can build the rest of the flesh tones on. So I'm not going to press very hard because I don't trust that every bit of this ink under here is dry, and I don't want to smudge it. Phil Noto's a grail for me. I got a piece from him when I was at Calgary, because I've got a sketchbook and I wanted him to do a piece in the sketchbook, but of course I didn't bring it with me because it's actually kind of big and heavy, and I was filled up with all my stuff in my carry-on, so I didn't bring it. And then of course there he is sitting next to me, because like a dummy I never check the guest list. I have no idea who's going to be at a con until I get there. And so we traded sketches. I did a Wonder Woman for him, and then he did a Supergirl for me. So it's not in my book, but it is over in my flat file. So I did get a piece from him, so that was cool. He does really nice work and very consistently good. You know, you get a con sketch from him, and it's, you know, you can always count on a level of quality there. He's not necessarily going to have like a bad sketch day. You couldn't see it right there, but her eyelash bled a little bit. But since I'm going to use that darker anyway, you won't even notice it. But that's the kind of stuff that ticks me off. But there's always these little dots of wet ink on those black lines, and you never know where they're at till you hit one. And again, it's my own fault for using this slick paper because that ink just sits on top. And it doesn't really absorb into the paper, so it takes a lot longer for it to dry. But I just like the way the marker lays on the slick paper and how much easier it is to blend it on the slick paper. So you kind of take the good with the bad, I guess, as far as that's concerned. But I'll hit all the flesh tones here with this 0. And of course, it always looks a little bit darker when you first put it on because it's wet, and then it dries and it lightens up a little bit. Okay, so I got my base down. I'm going to go in with a warm number 2 here. Let's see what we can do with her face and kind of model it up here. I'll give you guys a closer, really, I'll hold this up closer once I get all that in there. Okay, so give her a little. I will, as usual, make her left side, this side, which would be our right looking at it, but her left would be my shadow side of the face. Really need to change that up once in a while. And okay. I think you guys can see what's happening there. Okay, so I'm going to go over with a little bit of 0 over the top of this. Very light. I'm just kind of dabbing because I don't, like I said, I don't trust those black lines into there, and I don't want to sit there and start doing this and rub it in there hard and then have it bleed all over on me. That would be no good. Okay. A little bit darker here to define that side of her nose. Shadow area. We'll go underneath her eye with this to even darken that up a bit more. Well, this will blend a lot easier because this is pretty wet surface right now. Oops, sorry about that. Didn't mean to knock the camera. Let's see if I can actually get that over here a little bit more. There we go. So I'm just going to run the 0 along the edge of that. Was a number 3 I just laid down there, and just soften it up and it'll blend right in. Okay. You can't really do too much on a face this small anyway. I tend to get carried away all the time anyway. When I'm coloring in Photoshop, I'll zoom in so this thing is super big, the face, then I'll do all these layers of color, and then you zoom back out and you can't see any of the work you did. It's 11 by 14, Warren, to answer your question. Is there other colors you can simulate with gray markers? Yeah, not really. Because the warm grays tend to lean towards the yellow just by nature, and then the cool grays are leaning blue by nature. They just tend, those colors tend to be drawn out when you put them side by side. But like there's a neutral gray, and that's about as neutral as you can get. So you don't really notice it unless you put it next to a blue or a cool gray, and then suddenly you can tell the difference between the two. But it doesn't really lean color-wise in a particular direction. So I'm going to take a 2 now. Do this. I'm going to take my 0, come back in quickly over the top of the 2 so I can get it to blend nicely. And there you go. So you got your highlight here, here, and there, which is not white. That's the warm 0 underneath there that is actually the highlight. Because if you just leave it white, like the paper would be the highlight, it's too hot most of the time, unless you're doing, I don't know, maybe the Silver Surfer or something like that. Okay, so I want to know where my light source is coming this way, so all the shadows are going to be on the underside here and on this side. We'll blend that in a little bit. Okay. See how it works, and then it sort of rounds out the form very nicely when you've got your highlights on your light side and then getting dark on the shadow side. Back with 2. I'm not going to use any 3s on this because that's getting too dark. When I did the John Stewart Green Lantern, which again I'll show you guys before we wrap up, I used some really dark warm grays for his skin tone, because it really starts getting brown as you get darker with these, and his character being black, it helped kind of simulate the proper skin tone for him. Now, of course, she looks dark because there's nothing to contrast her against except the white of the paper. But when I put the red in here and the trousers really dark, this will lighten up. I lied. I'm going to put a little bit of warm 3 under here to create a little bit more of a shadow. You'll see I'm kind of whisking it like that. I don't even really have to blend it because the surface is so wet right here. It just goes really soft and then kind of bleeds out at the end. It has a real nice kind of natural look to it. Okay, so now we're going to, oh, actually I got to do her hand over here. I forgot on her hand. It's really that simple. Markers open up a whole new world once you get familiar with using them and how to use them correctly and get what you want out of them. The hardest thing to get over is actually being afraid of them. You know, it's like I'm afraid to lay down a color line because I don't know what it's going to look like. And I learned actually to use markers when I was working in commercial art back in the early 90s before I got into comics. And that was because you had to, anytime you did a comp, which is basically a layout, or storyboards for like a commercial or something, I did plenty of those. They're all done in marker, on actually marker paper, which takes the marker really well, but it's super, super thin. So it's not something I would do like a commission on, because it's not substantial enough to kind of feel like, you know, it's something you can hang on your wall. And again, you see how I'm just kind of whisking that up like that. That was a 3. And then I'm going to go in here and soften that up with a 0. And so now we've got, you know, we've got some weight to that leg now. The kneecap, there's a highlight on the kneecap, on the calf, and then on the thigh there that helps round that out, taking it from a flat shape, turning it into a rounded 3-dimensional shape on a 2-dimensional surface, which is our goal, right? Kristen's back, thank you. Hey, I just saw that, so I hope you're still there as I say hi to you. Okay, so I'm going back with a 2 now and do my kneecap. Also kind of want to figure out where you want your highlights, I guess, to be. And you want to be loose. I mean, you do. I guess once you get comfortable using these things and you have faith in yourself that, you know, if you put something not exactly where you want it, that you can kind of fix it and get it to look the way you want it, then it becomes a little bit easier. I mean, confidence is everything, right? Confidence in shooting a basketball to, you know, drawing. You know, technique is great, but you got to have confidence in doing it, you know, or you're second guessing yourself all the time, and then you're not going to really get the result you want. Excuse me. This is a 3, so it's darker. And I'm kind of going to go over the areas where the 2 was and do it really kind of. And you got to know anatomy at least well enough to kind of know where some of these muscles are that you're trying to define. And obviously on Wonder Woman, I don't want to shred her like a bodybuilder because it's not the most attractive look all the time. You know, if you're doing She-Hulk, I guess it is, but it kind of has to, you want it to fit the character as well. So I draw her thick because she's strong, but I don't necessarily want her super defined either. I just think it takes away from the overall smoothness and attractiveness of the form. There you can see how I'm kind of getting some depth and highlight in those legs. Okay. We got the flesh tones pretty much done. I'm not saying I won't go back and tweak them a little bit, but I'm going to go in with my cool grays now to do her wristbands, which I always found everything on her costume is gold, but her wristbands are silver, which never made any sense to me. In fact, when I was working on Wonder Woman, I asked them if I could change her gauntlets to make them gold. They're like, no, you can't do that. So I didn't get to do it, but it would make sense, wouldn't it, that her gauntlets should be gold, not silver. Okay. I'm going to hit this with a darker C3 over the top of that 0 to kind of give my little metal shiny effects there, right? So then what do? I go back and hit that with a 0 over the top, blend it a little bit. Okay. Now I can go in there with a little bit darker, which I'm going to do, because why not? This is with a 4. I'm just going to use the thin line side of it here. Because you'll find in that metal look, you've got this dark area, then it goes to, you have a kicker light on this side of it, or the reflective lighting on this side of it. Then that's a real dark edge as it starts to turn away from the light or turn back into the light, and then it's going to get lighter and lighter. So that dark line is actually really important, trying to capture that metal look. I just went back over that with a 0 after I hit it with a 4. Okay, so now I got our gauntlets, and I think it's all the silver on her. So now we got to go back to gold. That's the only kind of tricky thing, is because you're using the warm marker on her flesh, but you're also using it on the gold of her bustier and her belt, and her lasso of truth. So I'm probably only going to hit this with a 0, and I may just leave it with a 0 so it doesn't get as dark as the flesh tone. So we have a little bit of separation there. Now I can make this rope a little bit darker because it's not really touching the rest of her skin if I wanted to, although I don't know that I'm going to. All right, so now I got to do these, her breeches, which are blue, right? So we're going to go with a cold gray. So again, I'm going to hit it with a 0 to kind of give myself a base to work the rest of my markers colors over, or grays over. So it basically wets the paper enough so that you get a little bit of a bleed, or oops, sorry, I didn't hit the camera there. It just makes it easier to blend when you have that base down there. Okay, so I'm going to come in with a 3. I'm going to leave a little bit of highlights, although I don't really know why. They're shorts. They wouldn't necessarily have highlights on them unless they were Linda Carter's shorts, which are very sheeny. Okay, that's a 3. Then I'm going to go with a 5 and lay that over the top of this 3. Okay. And then I'm going to come back in with my 0, kind of blend these a little bit over together. Okay. And again, you can start to see the blue starting to show up in this gray, these cool grays sitting next to that yellow. Okay, so that's more 5. Then I'm going in here with a 0 to blend that. I don't really want white highlights on her shorts because I'm going to be putting stars over the top of them anyway. So I want them dark enough that the stars are going to pop out. Those of you familiar with Alberto Vargas, his pinup work, and he gets, you know, a lot of run as being an airbrush artist, but he used to do all of his paintings by hand. He was not using an airbrush. And he'd take watercolor board, and by watercolor board I mean like thick, not paper, board, and he would wet it down like underneath a sink, get it all wet, and then let it dry a little bit. And what that did was that moistened up the paper, so it made it much easier to bleed and blend his watercolors to get that really, really soft look that you can kind of mimic airbrush on. So that's kind of where I learned this whole concept of kind of like priming your paper. I'm going to outline this with a 5. These highlights are still a little hot for me. So I'm going to go with a 4 over the top of this. And you can see these I don't even have to blend because, sorry, I don't have to blend them because the paper is so wet from the markers, the layers of markers, that it just kind of blends itself right in. Okay, so now we're going to go with the red. Oh, let me get her crown first, or a tiara. I guess not a crown. So I'm going in with the. Let's get this down here. Going in with a 0 again, warm 0. Okay, so one of the things I might do also, I won't. Well, I'm going to do. So I'm going to take a warm 3 and put a little banding on these to kind of make them look a little bit like metal. Go a little bit with an outline here. So I still have, so this is still lighter than her skin tone, but with those darker bands in there, it kind of gives you that feeling that, oh, this might be metal, which I believe it's supposed to be. Although it's got to be some sort of weird flexible metal. Okay. All right, looking good. Well, I haven't screwed it up yet, so that's always good. Excuse me, I got to get a drink of water. All this talking. Fred says, I have to go, but I just wanted to say thank you for AaronCon. It's been a blast. Everyone will be good. Thanks, Fred. Best regards from France. How about that? We love your artwork. Thank you. Cal gives me some insight there. Says that her silver bracelets or gauntlets are meant to look like manacles from when the Amazons were still imprisoned. Oh, I see. Well, thank you. Charlie says this is the best con video this weekend. And well, certainly from an instructional standpoint, it probably is. All right. So now here's the thing with the red. I don't have different values of red. Okay, I just have 1. So I can't do all this modeling. So I want it to look as, I want to be soft here as I'm laying it down, but I want it to be as flat looking as possible, and which is impossible because these are essentially watercolors, and it's really, really in this format difficult to get them to look really flat. I mean, it does to you guys because you're not getting it as close up, but then I'll go back over and do a little bit of shadow work. Okay, because like I said in the previous con videos, is that obviously if you lay this red over the top of the red over the top of the red, it's going to get darker. It has an additive effect. So even though I don't have different shades of red or darker shades of red, by just actually putting the red over and over again, it will get darker in areas if I want to create kind of a shadowy look in certain areas. Okay, see how that works? Okay, so now I'm going to go down here to the boots. I just have thin strips on these boots, so it's not like I can do anything all that creative in terms of modeling. I'm just going to kind of fill in. Thanks, Dave. Oops, sorry. loading. So again, I'm not really trying to achieve anything here except get this colored in as less splotchy looking as I possibly can. And maybe I'll hit it with some outline here to make the outer edges maybe a hair darker. You're not really going to notice though. All right, so what's left? Well, the details now, and it's, what do they say? The devil's in the details, right? So going and I'll do this star. And I'm going to go in and blacken in her hair. There's a couple ways you can do this, and I generally like to, I'll leave it like right here, I'll leave a highlight in here. But rather than trying to save all these lines that I drew, I know it seems kind of silly to draw those lines in and then blacken them in. But I've got a white pencil that I can go over the top of this with and kind of create those lines over the top. And it just looks better than trying to ink around the lines, right? So you can come in. I may try it a little bit, but I always do it, and then I look back and I go, oh, that looks like crap, and then I just blacken it all in anyway, and then go back in. In fact, I'm just going to do it. Just blacken it in. And then I go over with a white pencil, and it just looks cooler. Or what I used to do before I discovered these really thick white pencils was I would use whiteout. You know, I just use a brush. And now that I got the pencil, it's a lot less messy, obviously, to use a pencil than it is to use the whiteout. But I still bring it with me, both. When I go to cons, I mean. Or in this case, the virtual con where I just stay at home. Okay. Yeah, I want to be out of here by 6:30, so I'm gonna get this wrapped up. We're almost done. Okay, so I'm going to leave those areas of white right there as highlights. And I'm just going to blacken everything else in. David Roberts, are you doing WonderCon when you pick a new date? Depends on when the new date is. Probably, but again, it would depend, because Emerald City just announced they're like at the end of August, and we've got San Diego in there. So yeah, if I can squeeze it in, I will. AaronCon, that's pretty funny. I am going to probably do another virtual con during WonderCon weekend, but only 2 days. I got to tell you, this 4 days nearly killed me. It was more difficult than a con, not just the on-air stuff, but just all the sketches I took. And it was like I was up from, I didn't really start on Thursday because I still was doing Justice League, so I didn't get Justice League done until Friday afternoon. Instead, I've got like 12 convention sketches to do, so I spent all weekend working on those. It got a little fatiguing. Okay, so here's my white pencil. Actually, you know what? I'm going to sharpen this a little bit if I can, although it's rolling the dice, because every time I sharpen this dumb thing, the lead breaks off. And then it becomes this never-ending cycle of lead breaking. Thought it broke. It did. Gosh darn it. See? I should have left well enough alone. Isn't this exciting? Okay, you know what? I'm just going to leave it. There's enough of a tip to do the job. So I'm just going to go in here. And oh, before I start, this is like a charcoal white. I don't know who made it. I got it off, I found it at the art store. So, but this really, look at that. You can just put a white line in there. It's just fantastic. Look at that. Okay, so I'm going to go up down here and do the stars on her britches. Look how well that works. It's a lot harder when I was doing this with a brush. With a pencil, it's a lot easier. How many issues of Justice League am I doing? That is an excellent question. Well, I've done the 2, and then I'm doing another story arc starting on 48. So 48, 49, and 50. And 50 is a double-sized issue because I guess it's issue 50. And then I don't know what's going on because, you know, what they're doing with the line now that Dan's gone, if they're still going to do the same things they were planning on doing, or if they're going to change some stuff up. So I'm not sure. But I think I got about, 4 or 5 months more work, which is, can't complain about that. Look at that. Look at those stars, just like that. All right, a couple more minor touches here before we close this sucker up in about 10 minutes. I am going to put a little gray in here. And that highlight, because that highlight area is too big. Okay. Oh, got to do her lips. Okay. Now, one thing, when you start laying ink over some of this black line work, it tends to dull it a little bit. So especially around her eyes, I like to go in and darken that up, her eyelashes and stuff, so her eyes really pop. Okay, I'm going to I think that's good. Okay, so what am I forgetting? Got a little, my red's bleeding over into my belt a little bit on the top, so I'm going to run a white across that to kind of cover up the red, but it also looks as like a reflection on the top of the belt, so it's totally fine. All right, so then I'm going to do what I did on the last ones. Unlike Batman, I don't want this really rough edged. I want it very smooth. So I'm going to go ahead and darken the lines. What I also like to do is have some of these, what I like to call wild hairs, kind of, so our hair doesn't exactly feel like it's just like this helmet of shapes, but actually, well, there's some hair in there. So I do that. Okay, so that's sort of, as you can see, so I add a few little loose hairs and they're not, not a ton, but kind of enough to give it some life. Your animation style stuff is so nice. Are you pursuing any work that would be more cartoony? It's a good question, Dave. Other than just create our own stuff, which, that could take a million years before it actually comes out, if it ever comes out at all. Okay. So basically, I'm just bolding up the outline here, like I did on the other ones, if you remember. Kind of helps solidify the drawing for me. I don't know how necessary it really is, but it's just kind of a look I like, so I do it. And it's kind of this, all this convention sketch type technique is all sort of evolved over years and years of doing it. You know, you're always looking at who's sitting next to you and what they're doing and say, "Ooh, that looks pretty good. I should do that." Or you just try new things to see how they look. Oh, I forgot to put the seams in her costume to kind of break this red up. So we'll do that. Not a big deal, but you know. Okay. So now I got to get these legs, which are really long lines. Try not to make them bumpy. Because nobody wants their Wonder Woman to have bumpy legs. She's much too fit to have bumpy legs. Okay. Get these boots. Have you ever come to HeroesCon in Charlotte? I have. And I'll tell you, the reason I have not been going is because my daughter dances and her recital is practically every weekend is the same weekend as WonderCon. So she graduated high school this year and she'll be done with her recitals. So I hope to make it next year. I was thinking about this year because I think the recital I don't think is the same weekend, but the problem is everything's so uncertain with cons right now. I don't want to make plans to go someplace and then not, have it happen. Although I would think by June we should be in a better place with all this cold and flu stuff. Okay. There you go. All right, so the last thing I'm going to do on her, actually I'm going to color her eyes in with a blue pencil, but I'm not going to do that on, oh yeah, I am. There's a blue pencil right there. I didn't think I had one handy, but I do. So I'm just going to go in and color her eyes blue. I don't know how well you can actually see. Probably, you can't even see it on there. But it does make a difference on the original. It's very subtle, but it does make a difference on the original art. And that's really what these things are for, is for the original art. Okay, so now I'm going to take actually, I think I'm going to go darker. I'm going to go with a number 4 brown, or a warm number 4, and outline the figure. And then she's going to be done. It's kind of the last step for me. It just sort of kind of finalizes everything, makes it look finished, if you will. And maybe it's just because I've been doing it so much that I sort of, nothing feels complete to me unless I've done this to it, or convention sketch-wise doesn't feel like it's done unless I do this. Whereas most people that, just getting the commissions don't even think about it, looks done to them. And it is done, but for me, I've always got to add this. All right. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. That's the problem. You need to zoom out to see the whole thing, but then you lose some of the detail. But Such is life. You can kind of see the musculature. I'll do this in sections first so you can kind of see how it all turned out. But you can see how the musculature in the legs really kind of pops out there with the way we did the markers on it, to kind of give it that three-dimensional look. And then here's the there we go. So you can get kind of a good look at, you know, everything there. So then really it's, I just got to sign this thing and put it to bed, as they say. Although I don't know if saying putting Wonder Woman to bed probably comes off the wrong way. But anyway, we will pick a spot to sign it. I think right over here is as good as any. And I guess that makes me the Bob Ross of comic art. All right, folks, there we have it. The last con sketch for AaronCon2020. Thank you, Sean. Thanks to everybody for joining me for these 4 days. It's been a lot of fun. I'm going to do this more often. I didn't have any kind of idea what sort of response I'd get, but this response has been overwhelmingly positive. And I guess there's a lot of people out there that like to watch people draw. So we'll do this again. I will, like I said, my plan right now is to do it again for WonderCon weekend. So we'll shoot for that. I will keep that stuff posted on my Facebook page, and I'll try and get this stuff up on YouTube as well, so it's on both sites. But everybody that ordered a book, a sketchbook today, it's still free shipping till sometime tonight. So if you haven't ordered yet and you want to get one of these, they're $25 or $45 with the sketch inside. You saw me do the Orion sketch. That's what I'll be doing later tonight to get these caught up and get them shipped out to you. Well, it's going to be in segments over the course of this next week, because probably over Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I'll get all this stuff packaged up and shipped out. So anyway, folks, there you have it. Thank you again for joining me at AaronCon2020, and we'll see you next time.